She chased the poor girl away because she stinks. She did not know that it was a cover to test if she truly loved her father or was only there for the money. Vanessa Douglas adjusted her silk robe as she walked down the marble staircase of her father's mansion, her phone pressed to her ear. Her voice echoed through the lavish hall, laced with irritation. "No, Tasha, I told you. I'm not going to that party if they're inviting those cheap girls from the mainland. Ugh." She ended the call abruptly and let out a sigh of frustration. Outside, the sun beat down on the Douglas estate, a grand structure nestled in one of Abuja's wealthiest neighborhoods. The gate stood tall and intimidating, guarded by uniformed security. From the front door, Vanessa could hear a commotion, an unfamiliar voice pleading. Curious and annoyed, she walked to the large window and peeked outside. There, standing near the gate, was a young woman in a faded yellow dress holding a torn handbag. Her hair was unkempt, her skin covered in sweat, and her feet dusty from walking. The girl appeared nervous, even desperate. Vanessa's lips curled in disgust. "Who let that thing near our house?" she muttered. She stormed outside, her designer slippers clicking against the tiled porch. The housemaid, Temi, and one of the guards were already trying to calm the girl down. "I just want to speak with Mr. Douglas, please," the girl pleaded, her eyes filled with urgency. "And who are you? What business do you have with my father?" "My name is Hope," the girl replied, her voice trembling. "Please, I need just 5 minutes. It's really important." "Important?" Vanessa scoffed, stepping closer. "You think my father will see someone like you? Look at yourself. You stink, you're sweating like a pig, your clothes are filthy, and you expect to be welcomed into this house?" Hope opened her mouth to speak, but Vanessa cut her off. "Get lost before I call the police. We don't give handouts here." The girl's eyes welled with tears. "Please, I'm not here for money. Vanessa turned to the guard. "Get her out of here. I don't care where she goes, but I don't want to see her anywhere near our gate again." The guard hesitated, but one stern look from Vanessa sent him moving. Hope gave one last pleading glance toward the mansion before slowly walking away, shoulders hunched, wiping her face as she disappeared down the dusty road. Temi looked uncomfortable. "Madame, she said it was urgent. Maybe you should mind your business," Vanessa snapped, already turning back toward the house. That evening, Mr. Douglas returned from a business trip in Lagos. Tall, broad-shouldered, and calm in demeanor, he was a man who spoke little but observed much. He entered the house with his usual grace, setting his briefcase by the door. Vanessa ran up to him with a smile. "Daddy, welcome back. How was the trip?" "It was tiring," he said simply, removing his glasses. "Anything happen while I was away?" Vanessa paused for a moment. "Nothing serious, just some random beggars trying their luck at the gate. I handled it." He studied her face. "Beggars?" "Yes, a dirty-looking girl showed up earlier, said she needed to see you. She was clearly lying, probably trying to scam you." His expression didn't change, but his eyes narrowed slightly. "I see." Vanessa tilted her head. "Is something wrong?" He looked back at her and forced a small smile. "No, nothing's wrong." But something was very wrong. Vanessa didn't notice the disappointment in his eyes. She didn't hear the quiet sigh that followed him as he went upstairs to his room. Later that night, as she soaked in her scented bubble bath, Vanessa scrolled through her phone, oblivious to the thoughts racing through her father's mind. She had spent her whole life surrounded by wealth and power. She never questioned her place in her father's heart or in his will, but things were beginning to shift, and the test she had just failed was only the beginning. Mr. Douglas sat quietly in his study the following morning, a cup of black coffee, untouched, on the polished mahogany table. The air was unusually still, except for the faint ticking of the antique clock on the wall. He had been up since 5 a.m., his mind replaying yesterday's events over and over again. Hope's tear-streaked face, the urgency in her voice, and Vanessa's cruel dismissal haunted him more than he expected. Hope wasn't just any girl. She was part of a private test Mr. Douglas had arranged, a personal evaluation of his daughter's heart. After years of spoiling Vanessa with money, privilege, and comfort, he had grown increasingly uneasy about the woman she was becoming. Entitled, unkind, dismissive of the less fortunate, traits he had spent his whole life rejecting. He had met Hope 2 months earlier at a charity outreach in Kugay. She was bright, humble, and determined to change her story. When he explained his plan to her, pretend to be a desperate girl seeking help, she agreed without hesitation. He wanted to see if Vanessa could look beyond wealth, beyond perfume and perfect clothes, and show compassion. But now, the truth was undeniable. A soft knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." Temi, the housemaid, stepped in hesitantly. "Sir, your breakfast is ready." "I'm not hungry, but thank you." She lingered, then stepped closer. "Sir, about that girl who came yesterday, I just wanted to say, I felt bad. She really looked like she needed help." Mr. Douglas gave a small nod. "She did, more than Vanessa will ever know." Temi blinked. "So you knew her?" "I sent her," he said, his voice low but steady. "It was a test." Temi's eyes widened. "Oh." Mr. Douglas stood up and walked over to the window, looking out at the long driveway. "I raised Vanessa with everything she needed. I gave her the best education, the best life. But I may have failed where it matters most." "Sir, maybe she didn't know." "No," he interrupted gently. "She knew. She just didn't care. And that's what hurts the most." He turned around, his eyes dark with resolve. "Call Hope. Tell her I want to meet with her this afternoon, privately." Meanwhile, Vanessa lounged by the pool, sipping iced tea and flipping through her favorite fashion magazine. She had just posted a photo on Instagram captioned, "Elegance isn't optional, it's who I am." The likes were already rolling in. She didn't notice the silence in the house, nor did she question why her father hadn't come down to breakfast. To her, everything was perfectly normal. Until later that day, when she walked past the study and noticed the door slightly ajar. Inside, her father sat with a girl. Her. The same stinking girl she had chased away was sitting comfortably on one of the leather chairs, now wearing a neat gown, her hair brushed and her hands folded on her lap. They were laughing, her father and that girl, laughing like old friends. She pushed the door open. "What's going on here?" Mr. Douglas looked up. "Ah, Vanessa, come in." She stepped in slowly, her eyes darting from her father to Hope. "Why is she here? I thought I told her to leave." Hope remained calm, only offering a polite smile. Mr. Douglas stood, his tone calm but cold. "You did, and now I need you to listen." Vanessa frowned. "Listen to what?" He moved closer to her. "That girl you insulted was sent by me. Her name is Hope. She agreed to help me test something very important. Your heart." Vanessa froze. "What?" "I needed to know if you still had compassion, if you could see beyond someone's appearance, if you could recognize someone in need. And you failed, Vanessa. You didn't just fail, you humiliated her." Vanessa opened her mouth, then shut it again. She looked at Hope, then back at her father. You planned this? Why?" Mr. Douglas's voice cracked slightly. "Because I'm not going to live forever, and I need to know if I've been raising a daughter or a stranger." For the first time in years, Vanessa was speechless, and for the first time in her life, she realized her father's love might not be enough to protect her from herself. The atmosphere in the mansion had shifted. For the first time since Vanessa could remember, her father had stopped speaking to her with warmth. The cheerful banter, the soft laughter during their morning chats, and even the subtle favors, gone, replaced by an unsettling silence. Vanessa sat alone in her room that evening, her phone buzzing beside her. She didn't check it. Her mind kept replaying his words. "I needed to know if I've been raising a daughter or a stranger." She'd always assumed that no matter what, she would remain her father's favorite. After all, it had been just the two of them for years. Her mother passed away when she was 8, and Mr. Douglas had dedicated his life to ensuring Vanessa had everything she could ever need or want. She had never imagined that her father would test her love. Downstairs, Hope had stayed behind for dinner. Temmie served them quietly, noticing the soft conversations and smiles exchanged between Mr. Douglas and the once smelly girl from the gate. Hope, now dressed in a simple navy dress and low-heeled shoes, looked nothing like the dusty figure Vanessa had insulted. Her glow wasn't from wealth, it was from humility, and it showed. Mr. Douglas leaned across the table, his tone gentle. "You handled yourself with grace, Hope, even after what happened." She gave a modest smile. "I was raised to understand that pain makes people blind sometimes. I don't blame Vanessa. She only saw what she was used to seeing." He nodded slowly. "I wish I had your heart. You reminded me of something I forgot. Not everyone needs riches to be rich." Later that night, Vanessa watched them from the top of the stairs as Hope said goodbye at the front door. Mr. Douglas handed her an envelope. "Everything I promised is inside, but more than that, I'm offering you something else." Hope raised an eyebrow. "Sir?" "I want you to work with me on the Douglas Hope Foundation. We'll provide opportunities to underprivileged youth in rural areas. You'll be the first director." She blinked in shock. "Are you serious?" He smiled. "Very." Vanessa gripped the railing tighter. Her jaw clenched as she watched them shake hands. The girl she had chased away was now becoming part of their legacy. The next morning, Vanessa finally confronted her father. "So this is it? You've replaced me with her?" Mr. Douglas looked up from his desk, unbothered. "No, Vanessa, I didn't replace you. You removed yourself." She scoffed. "She's a stranger." "She's a stranger who showed me more humanity in a single afternoon than you have in months." Tears welled in Vanessa's eyes, but she blinked them back. "You're punishing me for one mistake." "One mistake?" he repeated. "It was more than that. It was a reflection of your heart. You didn't just ignore a stranger. You mocked her, insulted her, threw her away, and I can't unsee that." Vanessa fell silent. "I built this empire for you, but I will not leave it in the hands of someone who can't see value in people beyond their clothes and smell." "So what now?" she whispered. "You cut me off?" "I'm not cutting you off," he said, "but I'm no longer handing things to you blindly. From today, you'll work under the foundation. Hope will be your superior. You'll learn from her. And if, in 1 year, I see true change, then we'll talk again." Vanessa's pride shattered in that moment. "You expect me to work under her?" "Yes," he said, "or you walk away with nothing." 2 months passed. Vanessa showed up every day to the Douglas Hope Foundation, at first with disdain. But slowly, the walls she had built began to crack. She watched Hope spend hours listening to the stories of street children. She watched her give without asking for anything in return. And the same girl Vanessa once humiliated had never once thrown it back in her face. Vanessa began to change. But then, something happened. During a charity event in Guagualada, Mr. Douglas was giving a speech when he suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed to the floor. Panic erupted. Vanessa screamed, frozen in shock. Hope, without hesitation, ran to him, cradled his head, and began shouting for help. As the ambulance arrived and carried him away, Vanessa stood there trembling. For the first time, she realized what Hope had known all along. Love is proven in action, not in comfort, not in luxury. At the hospital, Mr. Douglas opened his eyes briefly. Hope was holding his hand. Vanessa stood at the corner, watching. He whispered, his voice barely audible, "Now, I know who truly loves me." Then everything went silent. To be continued.